Alright guys, what's up y'all? It's Triarius Wargaming here with another update to the big project. So, I actually got these chaps finished on Monday, but I've just been so busy I've not even been able to work on anything else or, paint any more miniatures or make this video. But here are my Germanic tribesmen done. So these are going to be masquerading as ancient Britons for the big game. But I don't really have a problem with that for this game because I just kind of need the numbers here. But these troops will form the core of my like ancient German army when I finish it basically. And these guys I would not be afraid to use them from some of those first conflicts with Rome, maybe around the first century BC, with like the Teutons and the Cimbri, and also Julius Caesar's or Julius Caesar's war in Gaul. We often talk about like Julius Caesar's conquest of Gaul, fighting the Gauls. I see it less often talked about his actual campaigns against the Germans, who are sort of one of his casus belli for invading Gaul, because we got to invade the Gauls to save them from being invaded from the Germans, kind of deal. Ariovistus, I believe, is the name of the German king who he was fighting. And Caesar actually gives us some interesting primary accounts of how the Germans fought. But yeah, I would use this army from the first century BCE all the way up to the 6th century AD. So the main change that happens in the 6th century AD is, or in the really I guess more like the third, starting in the 3rd century going onwards through the 6th century BC, is the replacement of the oval and rectangular shields with more round shields. However, these kind of rectangular shields, oval shields, do still show up in the grave record, just in a lower percentage compared to the round shields. But otherwise, for the kind of massive troops, I think things would be quite the same. For the higher quality warriors, there was a steady increase in Roman-made equipment. There was a lot of exports into Germany. You had veterans returning with their gear. But for the most part, these do quite nicely for your average trooper. Very little armor among the Germans. And that's not because they didn't know how to make it, but they just did not have the systems of like centralized production, not only in just the production of weapons, but the distribution of like metal ore. They just didn't have a complex enough distribution system to really like send those around to create a large quantity of cheap armor or anything. So enough history yakking here. So I'll kind of take you through these units here. My goal was to create like a very tight shield wall kind of look, and my reason for that is basically, that is kind of what the sources say the Germans actually fought in. So here's our first unit with the big Chungus leading the way. Yeah, the dense shield wall is what our kind of sources describe the Germans as fighting in. Whether that's Caesar, whether that's Tacitus, they do mention these tight ranks of troops. So I did do a couple like armored guys in some of these units to sort of represent, maybe like a chieftain or local leader who had this equipment or had pillaged this equipment. But for the majority of the troops, they don't have helmets or armor. Yeah, these guys were really fun to paint. I really enjoyed these a lot, actually. Really enjoyed them a lot. Here's the command stand. You got a guy in a Roman mail, giving the orders, and a guy showing off his severed head, and then one of my favorite figures, the guy making the fist. Go get off my lawn, you dumb Romans. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I like this, the way this base came together. I hadn't actually planned on doing the base this way, but I had these extra figures who I thought would be good commanders. And yeah, here's that last shield wall. So yeah, some of the weapons in here, there's a mix. You know, I tried to keep as few swords as possible there, but not only are there swords, there are the kind of little knives, like the saxes, which the Saxons are named after. It was not just the Saxons who used them. They've been found all over Germany. The throwing axes, the Franziska throwing axes, again, those are not unique to just the Franks who are named after them. Those have been found in burials across Germany. The clubs I really like. I tried to have a lot of guys with clubs, and that is often, you know, not only do a lot of the sources mention the use of war clubs throughout the whole period, like it's in the later period too. Ammianus Marcellinus records not only do they like hit people with the clubs, but they actually used the clubs as a throwing weapon to break open formations. And he actually explicitly says that the Germans threw their these heavy fire hardened clubs to break up our formation and then stab their men in the chest. And that's pretty much the exact quote. So not only do you have the swords, but you got a lot of clubs. But I really wanted the majority of the guys to be spear armed and kind of have that dense hedge of spears, because the spear really was the weapon that most of them would have had. So that's the Germans. So you can see there are some who didn't make it into the units. So those will be those will end up in the light infantry. So I still have more of these that I primed but have not painted. So those will end up being light infantry for the actual German army. You know, I guess never say finished, but what I really have my eye on to complete the Germans, I've got all the cavalry I need, so I have a lot of German cavalry to paint up. And so as well as the cavalry, so I have the cavalry, what I would like to add is War Games Atlantic is coming out with some plastic Goths, and they're also coming out with some plastic Franks. I'm personally more interested in the Franks, and I thought the Frank sculpts looked awesome, like really, really awesome. I love them. So I want to add some of those troops into the mix here, the Franks. I would also add some, you know, more Romanized Germans, and that is something that the archaeology does show us, is over time there's a massive influx of Roman equipment into Germany. So I would like to do a unit of, you know, more elite warriors who've got kind of captured, or not even captured, but just acquired Roman equipment through one way or another. But these guys will form a nice core block of like regular troops. So I've taken enough of your time here. I didn't get any more painting done this week than this, which I mean is still like really a lot. But the goal tonight is to get as many legionaries painted as possible so I can start doing their units. I wanted to paint legionaries during the week, but work was way too crazy, you know, and I just did not have the time to do any more painting. So have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully in a couple days, you know, maybe I'll have some more Roman legions put together. But in the meanwhile, take it easy and have a great day, whatever day this goes up.